Welcome to Grit City Tales, a podcast hosted by the Humane Society for Tacoma and Pierce County. I'm Mary.
And I'm Maggie.
And together we're amplifying the untold stories of pets and the people who love them from the heart of Tacoma and Pierce County, Washington. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're talking about...
Basically, we're introducing our podcast.
Welcome to our first episode. We're excited to have you here, and we want to take a minute to introduce ourselves. Maggie, tell me everything.
I'm the Humane Education Coordinator here. My name is Maggie, and I started this journey in animal welfare pretty young. I have always been interested and loved animals. They've been a big part of my life. I've had dogs, cats, rabbits, horses, a goat, hamsters, all kinds of different things. And I actually have a background in environmental science. That's what I went to college for. Mm-hmm. And then I just felt this call to come back into the animal welfare realm. That's where my heart lies. While I still really care a lot about environmental issues and sustainability, I just have an extra soft place in my heart for animals and trying to improve their lives and help people to be able to better care for their animals as well. So that led me here, and I've been here for 2.5 years now, and Washington native. So I am excited to be here and talk to you all about the adventures we have here at the Humane Society, and my fearless leader, Mary. So Mary, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am not from here. I'm not a native of Washington. I am from South Carolina, and I went to Clemson University. Go Tigers, anyone out there listening. I studied animal and veterinary science and then came here to start as a volunteer and then worked my way to an adoption services representative and then a pet support counselor. And then now today I am the community outreach manager, and, you know, it's a dream job. Like, I absolutely love what I do. I love helping people. I love serving the community, and it's been such a fun journey. I've been here about 4 years now. I love what we do here. And so I'm excited to talk about it to people that, you know, may not know about what the Humane Society does and still has this perception of what we do as, you know, doggy jail.
Yeah.
You know, the pound.
The pound.
And so we want to be a resource, and we want to help people keep their pets. And so that's what hopefully we can discuss with you all.
Yeah. But for those of you who haven't heard of our shelter, or maybe you're not familiar with our area, we have a pretty unique history, and we've actually been around for quite some time as an organization. This is our 136th year in existence. So we've been around and kind of a staple in the community for quite some time. We're actually one of the oldest animal welfare organizations in the nation and the largest intake shelter in Washington State.
You know, that's why I wanted to come to this shelter specifically in Washington, is that they help so many animals each year.
That we do, and we try, and that number is increasing every year, the number of people and animals being helped. But that also leads us to talk a little bit about... We're the Humane Society for Tacoma and Pierce County, but our podcast title is Grit City Tales.
What does that mean, Maggie?
So, Grit City refers to Tacoma. It's a term that was kind of coined in the 90s, I believe. I guess there was an article written about Tacoma, and it didn't shine the greatest light on Tacoma. It was referring to it as gritty in an unpleasant manner. I guess somebody in Seattle wrote an article about Tacoma and referred to it as gritty. And
I'm thinking grits. Is that not what that means?
No, the mushy food from the South. I have had it. It's not bad. But nope, not the grits that you eat. Okay. So Grit City was used as a term that was not in a positive light. It was more negative. And it was Tacoma that kind of took that term and decided to use it to make it, like, flip it on its head and have it be a good thing, being gritty. We have resilience, where we persevere. We have all the grit, and that's kind of like what our shelter represents here. We have a lot of animals and people that come here and from all kinds of different backgrounds. been through a lot. Some of these animals have seen quite a lot, but they're resilient, they persevere, and our goal is to get them on to bigger and better things in life. And so that is kind of what led us to call this podcast Grit City Tales, because we're coming here from the heart of Tacoma and Pierce County, Washington, telling stories about our resilience here and the animals that come through our shelter doors.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's really interesting from someone who's not from here, learning what Grit City means. And, you know, I definitely agree with you that we are resilient and we persevere, especially through the difficult times that we faced as a shelter, as a Humane Society. And, you know, Maggie, you're our Humane Education Coordinator. You tell us all about the history of the shelter.
Well, this is something I like to start with for all of my presentations. I go into schools, I do community outreach events, and when I have a presentation where I'm speaking to all ages, I like to start with a little bit about our history, because that's something that I found really interesting when I started working here, was that, you know, one, we've been around since 1888. That just blew my mind. Mm-hmm. But if you can picture Tacoma in 1888, things looked very different. We had dirt roads, horses pulling us and our things from place to place. There were cattle around as well. Dairy cattle were kind of common down here. And so between the horses and the cattle just being treated more like machines instead of like the living, breathing, feeling creatures that they are, there was kind of a calling for this group of people to try to improve the lives of those work animals. There was also another case of a bear cub that was actually brought into town by a logger, and he was having this bear cub perform tricks, and just it really turned off the community. They were concerned about the way that bear cub was treated, but then it also sparked that larger conversation of what about the way these other work animals are being treated? Mm-hmm. And that's when a group of people, they were 27 prominent citizens of Tacoma, got together. They started a committee. It was comprised of men and women, which in 1888 was also pretty progressive, I think, having women be involved in conversations regarding policies and an issue like animal welfare being brought to the attention of others in the community. And they formed what is known still to this day as the Humane Society for Tacoma and Pierce County. So that group of 27 people in 1888 started what is still in existence today and is one of the largest shelters in Washington state. Just really goes to show how a small group of people, you might think you can't make that big of an impact, but when you work together, you can do amazing things. So that's
absolutely.
That's a little bit about our history.
Our shelter has undergone several transformations. All the way back to 1982, renovations upgraded our kennels and our office spaces, so that second floor with all the offices. 1998, major construction added about 30,000 square feet, shaping the shelter into what it is today. And it is a great shelter. I was amazed by how big it is coming from South Carolina. But, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to improve on when it comes to this shelter. And so definitely overdue.
Yeah. The thought that we are as big as we are square footage wise, and we're still busting at the seams with animals and lack of space to store supplies for the animals. That is how many people and animals we're helping, is that we have so many supplies and so many animals coming through our doors that we're just packed to the brim.
Well, we've definitely, dived into the unique history of our shelter, but I do want to go into, the stories of resilience and hope about the animals that have come through our shelter, and 2023 was one for the books. We have a few, stories that we want to talk about, and that's what this podcast is about, unveiling the untold stories of pets and their people. And so the first one I want to talk about, which is huge, was the 246 rabbits that came into our shelter last year, about this time last year.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I remember it vividly because
I think everyone at the shelter who worked here at that time, that's going to be burned into the brains forever.
Yeah, you don't get that many rabbits a lot.
We can normally house, maybe 25 rabbits tops, like comfortably, I guess I would say. That would actually be even tight to have 25 rabbits here. So to have an influx of all of a sudden 246 rabbits in our shelter was no small feat.
No, it was all hands on deck.
No kidding. It was amazing to see the work of everyone coming together with our shelter and in our community, because it would not have been possible without everyone being on board and trying to get these animals the care and the housing and the supplies that they needed. They came from just a situation that someone, I think, started with good intentions, trying to help rabbits in need, and it just got out of hand really quickly.
Which it can.
Oh,
really
especially
quickly.
with rabbits.
Yeah.
2 turns into a lot more than 2 very, very quickly. And 246 rabbits, I have 3 of my own. Keeping up with 246, I cannot imagine. And this situation was a case where they weren't able to keep up with the care and providing them with all that they need. So they were brought here, and vet staff was doing, they all pulled together for doing the intakes and checking them out. We had kennel aides and species leads coming together to set up kennels. And
Foster set up a table and said, if you want to foster a rabbit, come in today. We'll provide you with all the supplies you need that were also donated from the community, which was wonderful. We had boxes and boxes just stacked up.
Transfer partners even stepped up, so other shelters and rescues
took rabbits so that they could, more one-on-one care. We had to reorganize the whole shelter to accommodate for these rabbits. And it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really was. Rabbits don't have a lot of options, I guess. There aren't as many rescues out that intake rabbits. There are a lot of dog and cat rescues. Granted, they are all very full and dealing with issues as well. But rabbits, even though they're kind of considered a common household pet, not many places actually take them in and have vets on staff that can care for rabbits. So the fact that the community, they stepped in to help these rabbits, other rescues stepped in to help these rabbits, was just, as a rabbit lover myself, was very, very heartwarming. So all those rabbits, as you could imagine, it was hard to find places for 246 rabbits, but amazingly enough, all of them were either adopted out. They were either maybe transferred to a rescue partner who adopted them out. Some were special needs, so some went to kind of sanctuary settings. And many were actually adopted by their foster parents. So the people in the community who were willing to watch them temporarily ended up falling in love with them and adopting them.
We also had a record-breaking adoption event last year. Maggie, tell me about it.
It was a time when we were very, very full. Our shelter was doubling up dogs in kennels, sometimes tripling small dogs into kennels, and we really needed space. And so we had an adoption event. We were kind of dealing with similar situation with the cats at that time as well. So many cats. We still had a number of those rabbits from the confiscate. And so in July, from July 18th to July 23rd, we had waived adoption fees, and that resulted in 287 adoptions.
Being a previous counselor, I can't even imagine.
So that was so amazing to see people coming and not just being excited about the waived adoption fee. They were coming to help, and they were willing to wait hours to take their new furry family member home. And that allowed for all of those animals to get out of the shelter, be in their loving homes, and it made way for other animals in need to be able to come into our shelter. And to make that adoption event possible, there was a record-breaking day in the vet vet staff world here, where they performed 53 spay and neuter surgeries to have all of those animals ready to be put up for adoption and go to their new homes during that week. So 53 spays and neuters, resulting in an additional resulting in all those animals being able to be put up for adoption. Some of our longtime residents who had been here were adopted out. And so 287 lives were changed over that week, which was pretty amazing. And we're seeing a lot of need this year too. We have a lot of animals coming through our doors, and
a lot of people needing help to support their pets in homes.
Yeah.
I mean, just today, 55 boxes from Amazon for deliveries of pet food. We put out a plea to the community. We need assistance for the community, and the community came through. And 600 plus bags of dog food that we get to hand out through our pet food and supply pantry, and the community shows up when we ask. That's
about
for sure.
gritty. We do have a really gritty community. When times are tough, they pool their resources and come through for us time and time again, and we couldn't be more grateful for that.
Yeah, one of these donation receipts that I looked at today, she said, I wish I had more to give, but I'm pretty, tight right now. I'll revisit the list when I have more to give. I got my beloved dog from y'all, and she's the best thing to ever happen to me. Thanks for doing what you do. So that's the community coming through for our needs and the pets.
Well, and that's, I think, another reason we've been around for so long as an organization is that the community's been there for us when we needed them to support us through these difficult times. Last year was our 135th anniversary, in fact, and because we've been such a staple, we're actually honored to have August 24th declared as the Humane Society for Tacoma and Pierce County Day.
Say that 10 times fast.
I think no. Or HSTPC, if you want to use our acronym.
That's still long.
It is long. And we got a visit from the Tacoma mayor, Victoria Woodard. She actually came to our shelter and took some pictures with some kittens, and it was just a really special day to have been recognized as an organization for the work that we're doing. And it really is a team effort by everyone here at the shelter and our beloved community members.
And we're not going to go too deep into this next point because we want to have a whole episode on the cat declawing ban in Tacoma. This is something that our Humane Society had a huge part in passing, and I look forward to going in more detail about declawing, what it does to those cats, what it entails, and why it is now banned.
Yeah, very, very monumental moments in 2023, and I can only imagine what is to come in 2024. We've had a pretty busy 2024 already.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's already March, and March is kind of the start of kitten season, what animal welfare workers call kitten season. And
yeah, you definitely will not want to miss our next episode where we talk about baby animals.
Yes.
That's right. Spring is here, spring has sprung, which means our shelter is warming up for kitten season and kitten shower. So we'll be talking about Grit City Tales with cuteness overload, as well as what all goes into caring for all the many baby animals that come into our shelter over the next few months. Thanks so much for joining us. We post episodes every other Thursday, so come back and listen soon.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please go ahead and subscribe, share it with others, leave a rating and a review. And if you have any questions that you want us to answer on a future episode, go to our website, thehumanesociety.org/podcast, and submit your questions. To catch the latest from the Humane Society for Tacoma and Pierce County, be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Tacoma Humane.
But thank you for listening. Please join us again for more stories of pets and the people who love them.
See you next time.